So you should have your site that you've been working on, and most likely you have the 5 pages and are close to done those 5 pages. And what we're going to do today is going to set up a lot of what's kind of behind the scenes on these pages. So what you see is really important, but also what you don't see is really important because it adds to different page descriptions, SEO, which is search engine optimization, favicons, icons for Apple, all of those things. So a lot of that is going to be happening under setting and under pages. So we're first going to start with setting. And the first thing that you see is site icons, and you have a site icon that is called a favicon. Then you have a social network image. So this is if somebody copies and pastes your link into Facebook to share it, there's an image that will pop up, you know, or on your phone if you see something shared, there's like the link and the image. So that's what's there. And then the home screen, mobile and tablet. So this is for Apple specifically. If you save, there's an option for on your phone when you click share in an Apple or an iPad, or iPhone or an iPad, excuse me, that you can save that website to your home screen. And when they save that website to your home screen, if you have something loaded here, it will show up just like an app icon for the phone. So what's interesting about that is people are starting to actually use web pages as apps. So when without code, and if you take interaction design, we can do an app that would work. It just triggers the user. It teaches the user how to save it as a home page. And then it looks and acts like an app on the phone, and you're really focused on the mobile version of it. So, which is kind of cool. So let's start with a favicon. Here's what I do when I was first learning web design. What's a favicon? No idea. Next thing, how big is a favicon? So after some research, and it says here, a favicon appears next to the page title in the browser tab on Google's mobile search results. So it's this little image right here is what's going to show. So it's very small. You can search favicon size. And a favicon size says 16 by 16 pixels or 32 by 32. I'm always going to go with the larger one, the 32 by 32. The format image must be one of the following: a PNG, a GIF or GIF, however you would like to say it, or ICO. I'd use a PNG, and depending on how I want it to show, a lot of times it's just a shape with a clear background. So I will show you how I do this. So I'm going to make this right here, probably this one, my favicon. It has a little bit less detail. It's a very detailed logo. I did not create it, but it's something that I have to work with. So I'm going to do new. And then I'm going to make sure that this, I can click on web, or I can also make sure that this says pixels. If I click web, it's automatically going to do pixels, and I'm going to do 32 by 32. 32 by 32 is very, very small. You're not going to be able to reuse this image for anything else. It's going to be incredibly blurry. So I'm going to take this, and I am going to paste it. Whoa, arrange, transform. Sometimes when it's too big, I'll just press to scale it so I can reach those handles. There is some random little goodies over here. Let's delete those. And I am going to align this to the artboard. I don't want to make it as big as the artboard always. You want to have a little bit of space. This you don't have to worry about, like as if it's an Instagram profile, it's not going in a circle, it'll show all of it. And then I am going to align this. Here I have a line to the artboard. If you don't see a line, you can always find it in your window menu. And it already was. Fantastic. And from there, there's 2 ways to export assets for the web. I can do asset export, or I could just drag this in here. But I don't want to do it because now this is no longer 32 by 32 pixels. It is actually 29 by 30. based off of what the height and width is of this item. So what I want to do is I want to export for screens. When I export for screens, it's exporting the entire artboard. So I want the entire artboard set. And I'm going to go ahead and call this block favicon. I see that it's going to my desktop. That's fine for now. I'm going to export the asset. And then I'm going to go back to my without code. And I'm going to add that image. Did I not choose a PNG? That's a very good demonstration. I went too fast. I didn't pay attention. So whatever I did last was a SVG. I actually need to make this a PNG. 1x scale is fine. It goes in a subfolder that drives me nuts. Sometimes I'll save stuff and I can't find it and it's gonna go in a 1x folder. I don't want that. I'm gonna click it off. I just want it to go to the desktop. I'm gonna re-export that. SVGs work well in the web, but favicons need to be those formats that the web had talked about. So let's give that another try. Yeah.
Transparent background?
A transparent background, I want a transparent background. Yeah, because I just want it to, I don't want it to look like a white square up here. I want it to just look like that circle shape. So then I'm gonna click open, let it upload, and then I'm done. And now if saving it, if I preview, it's not showing it there. Let's see if it shows. When you turn in your preview link, you find it under this info, and then you go to preview link. So I'm gonna see if it will show here. I'm gonna click on just the desktop. It's not, because it's still in, yeah. But it's important to have once you do publish a site. So I need to make sure that you know how to do that. The next thing that we want to do, go back to settings. So this says it needs to be 200 by 200 pixels. And then the next one says it needs to be 57 by 57 pixels. I tend to use a similar design for these two things. So I'm going to go back to my branding, and they can be a little bit more detailed. I'm going to go ahead and get this grouped. Do new, and the first one said it needed to be 200 by 200. So if you look carefully, a lot of times any of these web builders will tell you the ideal size to make things. And I'm going to paste that in, not that one. Edit. Can I not? There we go. My eyes were not working. There's copy. Command V to paste. I'm going to scale this down, holding shift, make sure it's grouped again, align it. And I'm okay with this having a white background. So but I actually have to create the white background. I prefer to create a white background. If I change my PNG background to white, then it default changes it, and then I forget to go change it back. So when I want a white background on stuff, I usually just change it myself. And then I just send that to back. So I'm just gonna have a white square. I'm gonna go ahead and export for screens again, because I wanna have that dimension. So it defaulted to assets, that same thing I did before, so you can load those assets panels up and artboards and kind of export everything quickly. So this will be, let's see what they have. Be a good name for this. It's called social network icon, so I'll just call it social icon. All lowercase. Usually all lowercase and underscores with no spaces is the way you want to save things for the web. Go back to this settings page and add my image. So I don't want to use the same one because it's too small. Although it says it's 30 by 30, it should have been 32 by 32. What did I do? What happened there? see if this one is the right dimensions. The square, as long as it's a square, it'll be okay. And because it could said it took something 16 by 16, that 30 by 30 isn't gonna really change anything. So there is a preview of that. And then this one is 57 by 57. So this is a little bit different. So this is where you have to, let's look up Apple icon size or guidelines, because most of the icons have that rounded, they kind of have that rounded square. If you look at your phone or here, they have this little rounded square. So this is honestly what I would do to make sure it matches. The quick way for me, I'm going to take a screenshot of this. And then I need to make sure that I go back to find my size, 57 by 57. And I can just change this artboard. (57 by 57). And then I can make everything smaller. Just gonna get it out of the way for now. I am gonna take that screenshot and place it. And I'm using it to copy the roundedness of the corners. So I'm gonna make a square. Seems to be that size. And then I'm going to pull these corners down until it looks like I'm going to meet them. You could go through and read all the things that need to happen. But if I know that this is all of how Apple does their icons, I'm much more visual, so it's easier for me to just kind of go that route. I use screenshots a lot to just help me figure out spacing, dimension, size, those types of things, especially if you view it at 100%. The fact that this one was pixely for what I needed, not that big of a deal. So I have my basic shape. And I can see what those corners are, so let's see if it has that information for me anywhere. So 15.9, it's probably, in all honesty, the corners are probably 15. Show back up for me. Nope, not gonna do it. White arrow. Let's try it. So then with the direct selection tool, I was able to see those corners. I'm gonna just change those to 15. It's probably a clean number. Let's see, there's really no good color that works on this behind it except for white. And it's okay if I have this white background. I do need to make this the size of that. It's a little bit bigger. So what can I do? I can go to this shape to make sure, oh, 57 by 57, I'm good. I can see that's the width and the height over here. And then I can take this and center that. I'm gonna go Command Y in outline mode because I wanna see how this is working on these curves. I wanna make sure I didn't go outside of them depending on how big your, or the shape of your specific icon would be. But that's working for me. I can make sure that this is aligned. So if you're, sometimes when my Illustrator gets tired and it says, oh, I can't preview anything anymore, it goes into this outline mode. And sometimes if you open your file, it stays here. So if you ever get stuck in this outline mode, and you can see I have other things hiding on here as well. It'll show everything you got. Then you can do Command Y and get it back. Whoa, let's arrange this to the back. There we go. And then export for screens. So we want to make sure we get the entire icon to go, and I will call this Apple icon. And I'm going to save that. And I'm going to upload this. So we have almost the same image, but they're all very different at the same time. So you have to prepare each one for its specific purpose. So those are the site icons. Site URL, you have to publish your site. In order to publish your site, you have to pay for it. You can get a site modify free URL with like your name in it from them, or you can buy a URL from somewhere and then it tells you how to change stuff in the back end from wherever you buy that web address. And we can go over that later because it's the same for everybody. SST certificate. So Google has started, have you ever went to a web page and it said, warning, don't go, it's not secure, and you have to click proceed anyways? It's because the people who bought the domain name did not buy an SSL certificate with it, which is a secure connection certificate. And then through whoever you buy that for, you have to link those two. Where it says generate certificate, you get the information. All this stuff is stuff that's easily Google searched because it's different for if you buy your URL from GoDaddy or if you buy your URL from Namecheap or somewhere else, the rules are a little bit different. There's always help tutorials on how to get that to happen. SEO, this is important. So this title is the title that goes up here. This is app icons, this is favicon size, so that's the title that goes up there. This helps with search engine stuff. This is why I have Long Beach, California in there. This is the name of the company. A lot of photographers, freelancers will put the area that they're in, so it helps with searching. And then a site description. This is when you go to Google and you search something, it's this. So that site description is what's going to show up right here. If you don't write anything, whatever first paragraph text is on the page is going to show up there. But writing stuff is important, and the words that you put in are important because that's what Google uses to search for as well. This information you probably want to ask the client for because then it's not on you. Why am I not getting any page hits? You have them give you a description. Keywords, so those are all search engine words. So for this, it would be chiropractor, sports medicine, soft tissue. They have percussion, shockwave, beamer, hyperbaric chamber, acupuncture, massage. So there would be tons of keywords. Long Beach acupuncture, Long Beach massage, Southern California hyperbaric chambers, Southern California cryosauna. So all the things that you think people would put into Google to search is what's going to go there. Google Analytics, this is through Google, you can set up something called Google Analytics, and this is on any website that's happening, and it helps track, you'll get information on what keywords people put in to find your site, how they found your site, what pages they visited, how often they visited those pages, and if you have Google Analytics, supposedly it's supposed to help in your search engine optimization as well. If your client is like, why am I not on the first page of Google when I search, you need to inform them that they have to pay for that. There's no magic SEO that's going to happen that's going to get you on that first page. Now, as a user, I go to their website a lot to book an appointment. So when I search it, it's going to come up very high on my search engine in Chrome because it knows that's where I'm going and it's smart. But if people have never been there before and they're just searching chiropractor, I'm searching block chiropractic, so that comes up. People are just searching for a chiropractor in Long Beach. Depends on how well your page is built, how well your description is in there, and how much you paid Google to show up on the first site. URL redirect. So this is where you can type in one URL and it forwards it to somewhere else. I've never had to use this. HTML header, this is if you want to put in custom HTML script or into here. So the heading we talked about how it's one of the most limited design things. They give you options, but you don't have a lot of ways to change it. This is if you know the code, then you can make it look however you want to make it look. Site backups, it gives you different versions of what you had. I don't know if any of you looked into this when you were losing your stuff, if this brought it back for you. I am not sure. Site language is English, but you can change it to different things. Privacy settings, I've never really looked into this. This cookie notification, I know that if you notice on a lot of web pages, it says accept cookies. I know like in Australia and different countries, it's mandatory that you put that on. And so I will probably just add this on to be safe. And there you go. 404, so we talked about an error page. It'll automatically come up as a default without code, or you can make your own error page. This is where you can have some delight in design, be a little bit clever, like, ooh, something's like for Halloween, like the mummies stole our soul, sorry, 404 error, something like that. I've never taken the time to make a custom 404 page because usually by the time I'm done with the site, I just don't have it in me. But it is a good thing to know that it's there and that there is an option. And this progressive web app, that's what I was talking about, how you can create this to be an app. And it'll prompt you. Enable mobile desires to prompt to install the app. Has anyone ever opened up a page and it bounces and points to like the share button and it says click here to save to home screen? So that's what that would do, so that people can see that they can save your page to their site or to their phone. So that's everything under the settings that's important. So let's go to the pages. So in pages under settings, that's just a anchor, so it's not a page. My services is a page. You can go to page URL. So sometimes it's important what the page is called. A lot of times it'll just give you whatever you named it. So it's /services. You'll see that it's in lowercase, even though this is in uppercase. The web works in lowercase, and the web works without spaces. So if you've ever seen anything that says 20%, it's how it writes a space in a file. So if you, that's why people will do an underscore. Otherwise, something is saved like logo 20% big or main. It's just they put a space in it. SEO blocks search engines from crawling this page so it does not appear in the results. When you use it, I don't know. Everyone I work for wants everything to be searched for and found. Page title. This is if you want it to be different than the main one. So on the page title, on the last thing settings, I had Long Beach, or Block Wellness and Chiropractic, Long Beach, California. This would be if you wanted it to say Block Wellness and Chiropractic services. So that might help find that specific page. So I can do sports medicine, services. And I'm going to throw Long Beach in there, California again. You're not, I'm in within the realm of 61. You're probably not going to see it up here. It's going to just be dashed and hidden away, but it's still going to be part of that SEO. Page description. So it's good to have a description for each page, and it's good to have keywords for each page. And then you can also set passwords for pages on here. So for example, this clicks to something called an exercise portal. So they need something where patients can go and find exercises that they're supposed to do at home. But they don't want a lot of it is like their own exercises or their own programs. They don't want to share that information. So the page is password protected. And then if you're a patient there, you get the password and you can go into that page. And then again, every area will have that custom HTML for the header if you need that to happen. So that's some important things for each one of those pages for it to happen. I want to make sure for what you need to do that you have a page title on each one of your pages. And I want to make sure that you don't need to write in a description at this point, but I need you to know that it exists and that's where you would find it. And you don't need to write in keywords at this point, but I need you to know that's where it exists and you would find it. And then always look, it says separate keywords with a comma. When you're usually working with keywords in anything, a comma is what will separate it for the web to read that. And in the settings, I want you to make sure you do the favicon, the social network images, and the home screen icon. Those are important to me. And then you also need to make sure that you have this site title here, for the overall site title, for that to happen. So let's talk a little bit about going from desktop to tablet to mobile. So obviously this is the desktop view. And you have to update your logo on every tablet and mobile view. It doesn't change it. And you can decide what you want the header to look like. If you haven't gone there, you can go to, that's just the icons. Let's see, I might need that page layout. So this is where it gets a little confusing. Let's go to pages. No, well, I'm losing my spot. Edit design, not the row. Why is this not work for me? Work for me. Change site layout, there it is. This is if you want something different to happen with this menu. Desktop, tablet, mobile. You would change that to match. So it looks like, if you wanted to look at the template of what you had, you do have probably the logo and a button in your hamburger menu. So you need to make sure whatever that template we were following, you get that to match similarly to yours. And then also the desktop, well, sorry, the mobile, you have to make sure you add those things into that. You have to change those individually. So Google now just pulls the desktop image for a tablet. It actually doesn't pull this tablet. Not Google, sorry, Apple. No, who was it? It gave me a thing. Somebody's not pulling in this anymore. But I feel like it was, they used to tell me. It didn't prompt me anymore. It gave me a prompt as to why that was happening. Let's see if it shows that. I'm going to research that for you. It was there. But it's a certain either browser or company, so other people are still going to be looking at this tablet area. Some things I might change here. This wording looks a little bit funky, so I might, let's see what happens. So this is what's hard. I would want to change it. I would want to change the size to all be a little bit smaller so that they're ending on, the bullet points are ending similarly. But if I go to my desktop view is working pretty well for that. The problem is the desktop and the tablet are joined together. So if I change the size on the tablet, then I'm changing the size on the desktop as well. So I probably am just going to leave it as it is because I don't think going that, if I go smaller, it's going to be way too small for the desktop. So you'll notice this is pretty, I had to change a few things. Sometimes you might have to change where you pin the image so that you're making sure that you're seeing the right spot of the image. It might change a little bit on your tablet view, but I usually don't have to change that much on my tablet view. I do have to change a lot more on my mobile view. And let's see if I click on this really quick. It's hard because I'm not getting that format. So if you're formatting, if you're in that design window, here you'll notice it says change effects desktop and tablet. So you have to be aware of that. When I'm in my mobile view, I've changed the design a little bit altogether. So here I just have some highlight services. On the desktop, I had a row of images here. But on the mobile, the way this was going to work is it was going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 images just straight down without any context behind what those images are. So I hid it on the mobile version. So sometimes you have too much information that doesn't need to be on the mobile version, because here it would have been image, 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 and it would just been too much. So you can quickly read, this is what the client wanted. They wanted these specific things highlighted. You can click to all services. It automatically put the buttons underneath each other for me. I did have to change the size of this image so it showed what I needed it to show. If you pretty much everything besides deleting text, you don't want to delete text. You don't want to delete anything, but altering the size of stuff will, if you're doing it on the mobile, will pretty much just affect the mobile. This was too big, so I had to go through and make this text smaller. It was a lot larger, and sometimes the words, like it'll say Wednesday, it'll be W-E-D-N, and then E-S-D-A-Y will go to that second line. So you have to make sure that the words that you need are not too big and going through. So I'll make changes, and I always have to go through and figure out what's happening. So if someone has a really long name that was creating it to go down to the next line, I'm not just going to make that person's name smaller. I have to go through and make every other person's name that same size. So the longest person's name is going to drive the design for every single one of these people, and they have 1 million people that work there. So so that's where setting some things up right away might be good to just check the mobile really quick, so that when you're doing it, well, I don't know, because then you don't want it to be too small here. It's just one of those things. You don't really want to change the desktop size. You want to keep that working for the desktop. That's just going to be part of it. You have to change that all for the mobile part. Another thing to think about is always check your menus. So my menu did not have, I added stuff to my menu on my desktop, but it didn't automatically add it on my mobile and on my tablet. So you have to go back and make sure. So if you right click, you can edit content. And I had, just says cite pages from the panel, especially if you have custom links, you have to go and add those in. So on another site that I built, I needed to have 2 things that are on the menu that go to an outside website. So you can't do both. You can't have the site pages display all the pages, and you can't have custom links. So I had to have custom links for all of it, and those links include, just like anytime you added a link in without code, it could be one of the pages, it could be a page with an anchor, it could be a website, it could be a pop-up, it could be a call to action. So you just have to go through and add all those. You just have to make sure you do it for each one of these things. So I will be looking to make sure that on each version of your site, you have the correct pages showing in the navigation. So that's something to check.
The order of this page?
To change the order of this, let's see, I'm going to edit content. So this says go to pages, remove names, and edit their order. It's here, you slide these up and down.
Oh.
So if I wanted to change that,
Because I was trying to slide it.
Yeah, you have to do
and
it here. You can't do it here.
Yeah.
And then when you do custom links, it does the same thing for you. And if you wanted something that's like a drop down, so you clicked and then it gave you additional menu items, you would just indent that. So then under services, if you clicked, then it would show staff or however many other things that you wanted. Because this is already becoming a really, really long navigation, and they want even more information up. I'm not a huge fan of the things that pop down, because I never know, am I supposed to click on that actual thing, or am I supposed to click on the things that are below it? And so it gets confusing. So I try to figure out how to get all these things to just be able to fit. Some of these are pages and some of these are anchors. So the staff is on the first page, and that just anchors down here. So I wanted a lot of stuff on the first page, because more that's on the first page, the better the SEO is that's happening. So hopefully what propagated or what happened for you on your on your tablet and your mobile is going to be pretty easy for you to go and fix. I foresee you fixing the size of some of these headlines and just a few things for your text. If the size of one of these headlines on your tablet is not working and it says PLACE goes underneath, you do have to change it on your desktop. If you are stuck on having your desktop be this really large text and you want to keep it that way, then you'd have to hide it from your desktop. You'd have to hide it on your, if I wanted this to be really big, like ginormous here, but small on the others, I would have to hide on tablet, and I'd see how it did it on the mobile. It changes it sometimes. And then I'd have to re-add the text back in on the mobile. I mean, on the tablet size. So that's the only way around getting some of that stuff to work. Other little tricks too. So for this restill stuff, I defined other images to put in here, but sometimes the images were not a square and things were getting cut off. So if you're having a hard time getting what you need, you might have to, like this rock tape was just this rectangle, so when I threw it in this gallery, it just looked like CKTA because it just made this big square. So I had a file open in Illustrator that was a square with a white background, and I threw the logo that I found on the internet on top of it, and then I had to keep exporting that square. So there's no magic way sometimes to shrink things to have them look how you need them to look. You have to use that artboard to shape how you need them to be. So this, I put a black, I could only find this thing with white. They just rebranded, so finding their new logo was really hard, so I just put a black box around it. This is a little bit tight. I probably would go through and change the spacing in that gallery to fix some of that, but little tricks of what's happening with images, pinning images. A lot of times the images too look really funky here, so you can pin where you want this image to go, and again, you'll notice, I'm not sure if it tells you on here, but it just will affect the desktop where you're pinning this image, because I think it showed up like that for me. And I was like, I don't want to show the window. I want to show, see, I don't even, there. So I had to go through and find part of the image that I wanted to show on the mobile. If I did not get the image that I was expecting, the same thing, you go on the desktop, you hide it on the mobile, and then you add your own version. You have to rebuild this whole thing so you can put a different thing on the mobile version. So I think with the rest of the time, I'll just go through and see where you're stuck on the other areas of the site. And even here it says rent or buy HBOT or Beamer. Does it look the best with that Beamer on the bottom? Not the greatest, but this is where you have to compromise on web design. On a phone, some people's phone, the or is going to be down here. It's going to be a little bit different on everybody's device. So one good thing to do is I have an iPad at home, we have a Kindle at home, we have a Pixel at home. I will check, once I publish stuff, or I'll take the preview link, I will check on a bunch of different devices to see what's happening. Because even though I fixed it on here, it's still too big on a certain device. So that's a really important step if you have access to Android and to iOS. They do say, if you do this preview, if you noticed, it gives you an Android preview and an iPhone preview, and then it also allows you to see what it would look like, you know, if it was tilted. This way always looks really funky, and I haven't found a really good way to change it, but I don't, you know, if you think about sites when you're on your phone and looking at stuff, you're just there quickly to get the information. You're not always judging everything that's happening on your phone. So a lot of times they say design mobile first, but see here, like this is really blurry, and that's really blurry on this version. So it means that I would definitely have to go back and maybe find some new images. What's hard is the client didn't give me these images. I had to take them off the web. I found the largest ones that exist off the web. So until they give me something, the compromise is they're just gonna have to have blurry images if someone's gonna hold their phone sideways. There's really nothing else I can do about it. So where I was going is you're gonna just finish working. I'll walk around and help. And if you can get the site, oh, here's my little cookies showed up. That's what it looks like when you activate that. Okay, goodbye. When you get the site done, you're just going to turn in that preview link. And if you already turned in the preview link, any changes you made to it, you don't have to return in a link. It just stays at that link. So when you give the client the link the first time, a lot of times they can't go back and find it. So I happen to give it to them again. But it's the same link for the site that'll keep showing those updates. That's there. Questions? I know it's a lot of information. That's why I recorded it.
Remember at the beginning you were showing pages?
Yeah.
What is this pages? Like the second,
And then, and then you can click on the settings for each page.
How can you add the little icon next to the name?
So this is automatic. So I can't add that icon. That's telling me it's an anchor. This is telling, this little house is saying the home page. So if you create a new page that says home, it doesn't work. We've tried. There's no way to change this icon. You have to rebuild it. So you have to be really aware that whatever page you want to show up first, it's called index when it comes to web design, that you have to have that home page on that. This are pages that I don't want shown in the navigation. So the events we don't have ready yet, so I'm just hiding it, but I've already built the page. This exercise portal, you're going from here, but I don't want it to be shown in this navigation, so you see that it's hidden. And new patients, if you go to appointments, new patients, you know what to expect on your first appointment. If you click here, it goes to that new patients thing. I didn't add it to this navigation. So you can have a lot of pages that aren't necessarily part of your main navigation, and that's how you hide it. The key here is telling me it's password protected. So yeah, you have a lot of little information there.
I think it was different dialog box with pages.
What's different?
You showed at the beginning, I think it was different dialog box with pages. Like when you showed at the beginning, you went to settings first.
Oh yeah. So
And
there's
then-
no pages here.
Yeah. So was it the pages you showed, the second item on the menu?
I don't know what you're asking. I'll come over. So the only way
I
to,
think I know how better explain it.
so I didn't find any pages.
Yeah, you went through this, and then when
And then I went to pages was the second thing that I did, and I clicked on the setting icons. And then I found the SEO,
I thought different.
page URL, SEO, set password.
Okay.
There was another way. If I right click on this, I can go to edit content or manage pages. That pops up. If I go to edit content, this pops up. And if here I went to go to pages, and that also got me there as well.